Hello, hello, and welcome to Fine, I'll Talk About It, the podcast where we say the quiet parts out loud. Real, unfiltered talk that's straight to the point and no fake positivity. I'm your host, Danielle Young, and today I'm joined by Rob McCarthy. Rob is an author, podcast host, and entrepreneur whose work centers on identity, accountability, and rebuilding your life without relying on external validation or performance. On today's episode, we are discussing how social media can hijack our sense of self and what it really takes to break free from external pressure and live from your own truth. Rob, welcome to Final Talk About It.
Danielle, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I am so happy to have you on. Social media is a topic that I'm very passionate about because, like we've discussed before, I absolutely despise it. So I am very interested to hear your take and dive into this conversation. But first, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how you arrived at Fuck the Script?
Well, I'm a 45-year-old married father of two, a blue collar guy, top to bottom. And Fuck the Script came out in September. And it was really, for lack of a better term, it was a compilation of everything I've screwed up in my entire life,
Mm,
looked at from the vantage point of what I should have realized and what I should have done differently. How I fell into that keeping up with the Joneses aspect very young in life, which put me in very shitty financial situations a lot of times over. And how it got to the point that I was almost financing my own self-worth by buying the things and living the life that I thought society wanted me to lead. What living somebody else's definition of the word success is the best way to put it.
mm, yeah,
Now at 45 years old, over the last 5 or 6 years, I've started to realize that my definition of success is a lot different than the yacht, the Lamborghini. I just want peace in my mind. I want to know who I am. I don't want to hate myself when I wake up in the morning. And Fuck the Script really started the movement in my mind to get everybody on that page and put a smile on everybody's face. Not because I say things nicely in the book and I mean, it's a punch in the face when you read it. But when you get to that point where you can look in the mirror and be happy and you don't wake up in the middle of the night worrying about shit like debt and how the bills are going to match or how the paychecks are going to match the bills, it's a really, really good feeling when you get fixed in on it and get it done.
yeah, for sure. So when did you realize that you were drowning and something needed to change?
I filed bankruptcy in 2010, and that's kind of a huge punch in the mouth, but I didn't learn from it. I went back on the same cycle a few years later and had to dig myself out of a hole right after I dug myself out of a hole. And the second one was almost deeper than the first. You know, I could have blamed anybody. Okay, 2010, my son was born, who's my second child. We had the house, we had the cars, we had everything. And then one blip on the radar screen completely fucked us.
Hmm.
And there was no coming back from it. And I started to look at it and I was like, my wife and my kids, they're low maintenance as can be. I'm looking left and right because they're in different rooms in the house. I was the one that was financing this and I was the one that was buying shit because I was so unhappy with myself that I really was financing my value. And I thought that I had to buy my family shit in order to not make them like me, but keep them happy. When after this podcast, I'm going to go sit on the couch with my wife and watch the same show we've been watching for 2 months on Netflix and catch an episode or two. And that's all she wants. I don't need to
Yeah.
spend $1 million to make her happy. But
Yeah.
in my eyes, it had to be that way because in society's force, that's what I'm supposed to do as a parent and a spouse. I
Yeah.
won't even say husband and father because it hits all of us equally.
Yeah. Was there a point, like growing up, where this was a theme? Because sometimes this often stems from childhood. Like this often stems from this feeling of inadequacy or feeling like, your low self worth. And it usually stems
No,
from childhood.
not really, but I do think the spending side of it was from when I was a little young. I mean, I remember my parents talking about debt and I don't know if they were in financial trouble, so I'm not going to say that because I was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
But I remember putting things on a credit card and financing a car. And I mean, the main basis of fuck the script in and of itself is if I recite the script to you right now, you know it. You graduate high school. What do you do after high school? You
Go
go
to
to
college.
college and you take out the debt.
Yep.
And then in order to get back and forth, what do? You buy a car, you take out the debt.
Hmm.
And then you possibly get married. And what do? Now with this insanity, you take out $30,000 in debt to have a fucking wedding made for a queen.
Only
And
30?
I got married in '06, so I'm going back to when I got married. But yeah, I mean, and then if you have kids and you happen to have a girl, you're expected to have that same style of wedding when she turns 16. And then, well, you can't afford it, put it on the credit card. But now they've made it even easier. Let's do this buy now, pay later bullshit where they hit your bank account for $19.15 every other day. And we've just been taught that debt is a way of life. And don't get me wrong, there's good debt. But when we use it as our lives, we're paying that minimum payment. We're barely making the minimum payment. And a world run by banks controls you by debt. And I was following that to a T. I mean, I was the textbook. Here's debt. Here's everything else. Couldn't afford something. Ah, let's finance it. Don't like the washer and dryer anymore. Let's buy a new one. I'll get a new Home Depot credit card because there's no interest for 12 months. But shit, I'm not going to pay it off for 12 months. So the interest is going to hit me anyway. Pick your poison. And I was drinking it like it was nobody's business.
Yeah. In a system that's set up that way.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. The cost of living has gone up so much that people have no chance of just paying cash for anything anymore. I mean, you want to buy a house, you take out a loan. You want to buy a car, you take out a loan. I'm still paying off my student debts. I'm 46.
I just got mine forgiven Thanksgiving of this year, of this past
Nice.
year. Yeah.
Lucky you. That's
Well,
awesome.
they have that public servant forgiveness, and I work for a municipality. So after
Okay.
120 payments, they wiped it out. Thank God. That was the biggest burden I had on my shoulders. You know, you're sitting there, you're figuring, how am I going to do this for another 20 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Right
I mean,
there with you.
you're talking $1.7 trillion a year goes into student debt on average I believe it's over the last 5 years. That's insanity.
Right. Because the system says we can't give you a job unless you have a piece of paper and survive 4 years of college.
But let me tell you something right now. Some of the richest people I know, and I won't say the highest dollar amount in their pocket, but they don't worry about money for anything. They
Hmm.
may not be billionaires, but they don't need money for anything. They can go buy whatever they want whenever they want. And they are the happiest people in the world, but they are the dirtiest because they're electricians and plumbers. Because our generation was told that you are not going to go anywhere in your life if you don't become a college graduate and get this piece of paper to work for some schmuck that's going to pay you $30,000 while you have to be nose deep in his ass kissing it every day so you can get 32,000 next year. My son's 15 years old. My daughter is in college. She's on a lacrosse scholarship, so that's fine.
Nice.
My son's 15. He's a sophomore. And he is a money man. Is working at 15, saves his money. He's good like that.
Nice.
He's already going into a program next year to try and become an electrician
Okay.
because he doesn't know if he wants to go to college. So he's setting the foundation now. I told him, here's some good debt. Take out a $150,000 loan when you become a master plumber or a master electrician. Buy your van, buy your tools, buy some wording for the side of your van and go out on your own.
Yeah.
You'll work 7 days a week. You'll be turning down jobs with the way society is right now.
Yeah. I know my son's the same. He's 14 and he's a sophomore in high school too. And he's got his own little online business going. And I mean, he's like, Mom, I don't think I want to go to college. He's like, I can make more money if I don't. I'm like, kid, you got to figure it out. Like, I do believe that he's into tech and computer programming and all that good stuff. And I'm like, hey, if you can find a way to circumvent the system and go out on your own, do your thing, buddy. More power to you, because that's what we need.
Well, it's to be honest, it's not circumventing the system anymore. because I was reading an article earlier last year. The Department of Defense needs 60,000 electricians by the end of 2027.
Wow.
With the expansion of AI and the expansion of these database centers and computer centers and everything else that's going on, never to mind the fact that if you want an electrician to come in and install a light switch, and I'm sorry if you don't know how to install a light switch, I feel bad for you, but you're waiting 8 to 12 weeks because non-emergency calls are booking out 8 to 12 weeks in advance because we
Wow.
don't have enough men and women out there that know how to use their.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people I know with kids my son's age, my daughter's 25, so, a lot of they're still Gen Z, but a lot of the people that she knows are, like, still in school, they're going to master's degrees, things like that, but my son's age, it's like, if we can't do it on YouTube, we don't wanna do it. If we can't do TikTok or if we can't do YouTube and make money off of it, then why would I go get my hands dirty? Why would I actually wanna work for a living?
It's insanity.
It is.
But then they're gonna be the people that, let's say, the 0.1% that actually make it as influencers and actually make money and aren't doing some bullshit video in the middle of a hotel in Manhattan that they probably got thrown out of the lobby 10 minutes later,
Yeah.
or driving a car that's either AI generated or rented. It's all performance. We know it. As adults, we know it.
Yeah.
They're gonna be the ones that are crying that they can't get someone to fix their faucet because, number 1, they don't know how to do it,
Mhm.
and number 2, their whole generation is gonna try and be internet influencers on social media. The majority of them are gonna fall flat on their face, have to go upstairs from the basement and get food from their parents, and then not know what to do with themselves because they have no tangible skill.
Right. Yeah.
Fine, I'm not gonna name names, but there are a bunch of people on TikTok that are just hilarious to watch. There's some comedians. I actually had a comedian on my podcast who hates the TikTok comedians because he used to drive 3 hours to do 5 minutes to make $50 to drive 3 hours home as he built his career.
Yeah.
These jackasses are on the internet for a year, and then all of a sudden they're selling out small venues like it's nothing.
Yeah. My husband listens to this YouTuber. He's a trucker. He's an over the road truck driver, and he just has a YouTube channel with road noise as ASMR, and he has thousands of followers. And
It's not
I'm
bad.
like, and my husband's like, "I'm in the wrong business. Like, why didn't I think of this? Why didn't I get into this?" And I'm like, "You know what? You have a skill set. Your life isn't dependent upon the internet, which is so volatile anyway,
Right.
you
Here
know."
today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah. And that's what people don't understand. It's what these kids nowadays don't understand. It's like, this is, the only thing that's permanent is impermanence. Nothing is ever going to stay the same. Things are always going to change. Like, where do you think we were 30 years ago? I didn't have the internet 30 years ago. I didn't
Barely,
even have a
yeah.
phone 30 years ago. Like, I didn't have a cell phone 30 years ago. So, I mean, we've conditioned people. I'm not even going to say kids because I know adults who are like this now. We've conditioned everyone for this instant gratification, you
Life.
know,
I call
have
it
to
the
have it now.
Amazon effect. It's
Yeah.
the Amazon effect,
Yeah. Prime 2-day shipping.
without a doubt.
Yeah. I'll admit I am part of that.
So am I.
Yeah. Like I try to order from mom and pop as much as I possibly can, but there's stuff it's like, you don't have it. I need it like soon. Amazon.
See,
I hate it.
I'm the opposite side of that. My Amazon cart is filled with the shit I don't wanna think about.
Mm,
Like, I don't wanna go in my cabinet and realize I don't have a roll of paper towels or toilet paper or dog food, and my wife and I have actually strategically figured out our cycle. Like, I know I'm gonna run out of canned dog food in 2 weeks if I buy this much. So I subscribe to it, and I just let it go.
yeah.
The only time I deal with it is if I have too much and I gotta skip a delivery.
Yeah. We do that too. Yeah.
It does make life easier, but we become a society where it has to happen yesterday.
Yeah.
And podcast, the book, everything. The majority of people who do podcasts, write books, do anything that's supposed to be productive, bail out after like a month or two.
Hmm.
Because we as a society have been taught through social media and through everything else, we don't have to deal with the suck anymore. We don't
Hmm.
have to deal with the work. We need to be handed it tomorrow. I mean, I should click my podcast released January 2nd. Shit, I should have quit January 5th because I didn't have 7,000 followers day 3. And that's what social media, that's what society has developed in us, and it's completely killing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I started this podcast January 5th, and, I've got enough episodes recorded. If I wanted to release one a week for the rest of the year, I could, which is great. But I'm on the path where it's like, I don't have to have it all right now, because I'm not of that mindset. But yeah, I know people who've released podcasts and they're like, well, I don't have 1,000 streams in the first week that I've dropped my one episode. Like, what am I doing wrong? It's like, well, everything. You're not giving it time. You're not going to get, because they see on Instagram, get 1,000 views your first episode and pay me $5,000 and I'll get that for it. It's like we see it and it creates this expectation. And I think social media is just full of non-realistic expectations. So how do we overcome that? Like, how do we start to realize and, make people believe that, hey, this is not real. This is not 3D land.
Well, one of the things that we do unconsciously, subconsciously, however you want to, whatever word you want to use, is the old adage, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. That shit's gone. I don't know where it went, who erased it from our mindset, but that's one of the things that we're missing. There's not any person on the internet for $14.99 that is going to give you a fucking spreadsheet for Etsy that's going to make you $37,000 in the first 10. I don't care who it is. And let me tell you something. If I was making $37,000 in 10 days, I would give you the recipe for free because you're not going to catch me. We all fall for these things like the podcast. I probably, since I released the book, I probably get 25 emails a day from somebody that's going to put me in their book club and sell 500,000 copies.
Yeah.
What do you
Same.
have? Are you having your fucking book club at Yankee Stadium? I
Yeah.
mean, who is doing this?
Right.
How large is this venue that you're having a book club and you're discussing my book and you're going to sell 2,500 copies in the first 5?
Yeah. Yeah. I got a lot of that too when I released mine. And I'm like, ugh, go away.
I mean, I'm still wondering where my Nigerian prince uncle is that owes me $17.2 million. He never called after I emailed him back.
Yeah. I know. Funny how family works, right?
Yeah, it's not even in his will. I didn't get any paperwork, nothing. But we fall for this shit because I don't know, I guess we want to believe it sometimes. I mean, I'm starting to trying to figure out who actually falls for it, but these scam centers make money just because we're so greedy.
Yeah. Well, I think too, there's a vulnerability, right? Because I know when I first started my business, this coaching business, I was really desperate to find that business coach who could really help me get a really grounded foundation. I mean, this is not the first business that I've owned, but this was the first one that I've owned that actually started out this way. So I wanted someone who was experienced to help me kind of guide me and say, okay, here, paid $35,000 for that. When I got out of it, post for 30 days, 3 times a day on TikTok, and then get back to us.
Wow.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to send me $35,000, just
Don't give
post
away
3
the
times a
secret
day.
now. They're going to know what they're paying for.
Yeah.
That's insane. But
Mhm.
that's what you get. You look at some of these things where they're selling you these packages. I mean, throw it into AI and ask them what the process is to advertise something, and it'll give you the same game plan. You know, I wrote the book, I started the podcast, I lost my mind. I went into one of those all right, the book's out. I'm promoting the book. I want to start the podcast in January. Let me put it out and start getting guests. And then I looked at my Calendly and I'm like, holy shit.
You have no time to yourself.
I'm recording 2 times a day, 3 days a week. And then I have to record my first 5 episodes, which are going to be solos. And then I have to edit all that shit, clip it down, get ready for social media, post on this, post on that. And I never used AI until that point.
Yeah. It's a full-time job.
It
Like
is.
I tell people I don't have a coaching business anymore. I have a podcast business.
Yeah, I went into AI, went into ChatGPT, and I gave them the first thing I did, and this is the first thing I say to do all the time, is I set my non-negotiable.
Mhm.
I went in and I said, all right, I have to pay the bills, so I have to go to work. I leave for work at 6:30. I get home. I don't miss anything that my children ever do. My daughter's playing Division I lacrosse. She's in the Northeast Conference. I'm going to be from Buffalo. I may not go to Buffalo. It's on a Wednesday night. That may be the one I miss. But I have to go from Buffalo to Delaware and everywhere in between for her games this season. And my son plays high school sports. So I got to go to his games, which are usually within an hour. So I put everything in the calendar that way. Then I put in all my recordings. And then I said, listen, here is my game plan. This is how I want to do it. And it broke it down for me. Like when we get off this podcast at, 7 o'clock my time, I have 2 hours worth of half an hour blocks. I got a little ADD, so I got to do it in half-hour blocks.
Yeah, I get
And I
that.
have it set out for me by the AI. And it lifted my load so much because now I don't have to think about the scheduling. I just have to do the shit that needs to be done. And we always try with everything, especially when you're trying to change and rebuild yourself. They always used to say the best way to eat an elephant is to start it in small bites.
Mhm.
You try and eat the whole thing, you're going to fall seconds in.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I got all my shit together with the book and the podcast and all that because it just became crazy. You know?
Yep. Yeah. No, my book launched last year and yeah, and I started the podcast a few months later and yeah, it's insane. And you're a lot smarter about it than I am. I didn't use AI. I don't really use AI for anything. My kids are like, "Don't use ChatGPT." So I'm like, "Okay, I won't."
Listen, if somebody wants to steal my identity and their life is that fucking bad that I'm an improvement, feel free. Feel free. You can have it 110. If I'm a step up, you really need to reevaluate what you're doing.
That's funny. Now, my daughter's more, they steal art and she's an artist and she's like, they steal art and it's just not good. My son's like, Mom, really, it hallucinates all the time. Don't use it. And I'm like, okay. So I really don't. But a lot of people who are in AI are like, you should really learn how to use it correctly. So I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, maybe I'll like start dipping my toe in it just a little bit to start understanding some things, but to have fully automate my life, I don't know. I don't know if I could do that.
I would never put my book never went near it
Yeah.
ever because I would never put any intellectual property out there. Just have at it. The only thing my book touched computerized was when I was typing into a Word document to get it
Yeah.
on paper. Besides that, my editing was done by my mother's an old school teacher. Believe me, she had no problem critiquing my grammar. I think she enjoyed it. And 2 other friends who were in the arts, like English majors or whatever. 3 people had my book, 3 people edited it. I would never put into intellectual property into AI because God knows what it's going to do with it.
Right.
But when it comes to like scheduling and things like that, have at it because it has made my life so much easier with structure. And it really does the work that your brain can do, but you're just not overburdening your brain by now having to schedule and do the work. You let that take care of the scheduling. It's phenomenal. I mean, I have to
Okay.
put together gym routines for my son and I when we go to the gym because he's 6'4" and 40 pounds, and I'm 6'2" and 200 and whatever pounds.
Yeah.
And he's trying to gain weight. I'm trying to lose weight, but we want to work out together. that kind of thing, I appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah. Okay, maybe all right. Maybe I'll just give it a shot and see what happens, but I
Here's what you do. Put in next week's schedule for you. All right? Sit down and put in your non-negotiable shit for next week.
okay.
Like you have a recording at 4 o'clock on Tuesday, whatever. You have, coaching meetings from 1 to 3 and 9 to 2, whatever. Just lay it out day by day for 1 week. And then when you're done with that, say, I need to get this, and this done. Block it in for me in whatever you're comfortable with, 30-minute or 1 hour blocks, and watch what it gives you. You look at it, you're like, I can do that.
Yeah, because I look at my schedule and I'm like, I don't have time to breathe.
It finds that breathing time, and it's pretty impressive. I was actually amazed by it. Now I live by it.
Okay. All right, good to know. Thank you. I'll
No
I'll
problem.
I'll dive in slowly. I'm just I don't know. It's one of those things where there's so much AI junk going around. I think they call it what, like AI slop going around now that you can't even tell what's real and what's fake. And I think for me, I'm so afraid to because I've already been accused of writing with ChatGPT because I'm an English major. So, and I have an English degree, so I know how to write. And I was a technical writer for a long time, so I know how to use grammar and punctuation. And I have been accused of using ChatGPT. And I'm like, look, it will be a cold day in hell before you take my M dashes away from me.
It's one of those things where it was said about me too. It was said about me too, and I laughed at it because the people that were saying it, and listen, if you go back 10 years for me, I would have fought tooth and nail. And I
Yeah,
would have gotten into arguments about it. I would have explained myself. I would have defended myself. I would have lost my mind.
yeah,
The me now has turned it into, I just look at who's saying it.
right,
And I'm like, wow, your opinion absolutely has no fucking value to me. And
exactly.
I know I didn't use it, but you want to make that accusation because you can barely write your fucking name.
Yeah,
I have no problem.
yeah. If you have not published a book or an article or anything, don't come to me about my writing. Like,
No, listen.
yeah,
I've heard the way. Well, my book is written how I speak, but I've heard the way some of these people speak, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you wrote a book using AI." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, you speak bad English and worse English. So just relax. But that was the big thing for everything. The podcast, you know how it is when you hear the opinions, and I think we tend to call it the tribal factor. You know, human beings are built out of tribes, and being accepted to the tribe is a huge thing. And I
yeah,
get that. I've got my tribe. I've got my very close friends. They're pretty much family to me.
yeah.
But we live off of other people's validation. And that's a lack of self-respect for yourself. I can tell you when it hit me the most was when I would look in the mirror and just, I hate you. And I didn't know why. But once I started to realize that I could celebrate small wins for myself and I could have respect for myself without receiving it from other people.
Hmm.
That really changed my mentality. So my mentality now to that AI accusation or any of the other shit people have to say, or somebody else wrote it for me.
Hmm.
Read the book and then watch this podcast and see if the fucking book is written exactly how I speak.
Right. Yeah.
My reaction to that now is go fuck yourself.
Hmm.
Your opinion is not making me money, losing me money, feeding my family, putting a roof over my head, writing my book, hosting my podcast, going to my job. So your fucking opinion means nothing.
Yeah.
And it feels so empowering as a person to just be able to say that
Hmm.
and mean it. Not
Yeah.
performance. I'm not putting on any performance and then coming back home and crying. I really believe that now.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's a great way to feel. But that took a lot of work for me. It took a lot of internal work because I didn't like who I was, hands down. Couldn't stand it. Was living a, how did I say it to some? I wore so many masks with whatever group I was with. The only time I saw what I looked like was when I was looking in the mirror and just disgusted with what I saw.
Yeah.
So that's where my change really started.
Was a lot of that friend group related, or was a lot of that, like, social media and society related?
When I use the word friend, I talk about a very small circle of people.
Mhm.
I have 5 or 6, we'll say couples or families that I call friend. I have a lot of acquaintances. I have a lot of people I'm cool with. I have a lot of people I'll hang out with, but I have, I'll say half a dozen, whether couples, families, whatever, friends. And I grew up in a family that when I stop making fun of you, I don't like you anymore. So
Mm,
if we have a conversation and I'm not breaking your balls about something, something's off between us. And my
mhm.
wife's like that. My kids are like that. My friends are like that. So I never had to be fake around my friend. I had to when I was with my acquaintances. I had to when I was out in public. And that's also what put me in a financial destruction because I had to play the game. I couldn't afford to go out to dinner 3 nights a week at 250 a clip. I live an hour north of Manhattan. I
Yeah,
can't go out for $18 drinks anymore.
right.
It doesn't work. And I played that role. Now I drive cars that have $150,000, have 150,000 miles on them. I'm putting oil in my car because it's spitting it out as fast as I can get it in. But guess what? It drives me to work every morning.
Yeah,
And I started realizing that no one gave a shit what car I was driving.
right.
And if they did, they were an asshole. Because if what I'm driving meant what you thought about me as a person, you got your own fucking problems to worry about, not mine.
Exactly.
And social media played into that a lot.
Yeah.
Because what we don't realize as people is we're comparing our lives. So you and I, let's use you and I, for example. I know you're not big on social media, but pretend you are for 5 minutes. If I go on your social media page and you post like everybody else does, and I compare myself to Danielle, I'm not comparing myself to Danielle. I'm comparing myself to Danielle's fucking highlight reel of all the shit that she wants to put out there to show how perfect her life is.
Yeah, the stuff that I want you to see.
Right. I'm not posting you yelling at your husband and telling him he's an asshole because he was, left his shoes in front of the front door and you tripped over him coming in or he left a dirty bowl in the sink or his underwear on the bathroom floor.
Do you live in my house? Do I have cameras?
No, I'm a husband. I know that shit. I do it too. I get
True.
yelled at for the same thing. You know, you're posting, and I'm talking arbitrarily, not about you personally, but you're posting the how perfect your kids are and this, that, and the other thing.
Mhm.
Yet you just had to yell at them for their grades and this, that, and the other thing. And, you're only posting the things you want people to see. I do it. My vacation this year, we go to the beach, we sit and, we take the picture behind us looking at the sunrise and the glass of wine on the table.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, 5 minutes before, she just told me to go fuck myself because
Yeah.
I did something and, we have that relationship where we'll do that, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But you
Yeah.
only post and all of social media is highlight reel, but we compare ourselves to that on a daily basis. And everybody else is moving forward while we're sitting still or falling behind. And then when you get to where you should be, somebody moves the goalpost.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, the term keeping up with the Joneses started right after World War II. And it had to do with Mr. Smith down the street buying a new Cadillac or Mr. Johnson on the other side of the street got new siding or painted his house or planted a tree, whatever. Your keeping up with the Joneses was a very small visual area. Maybe it was family and you had to keep up with a cousin or an uncle or whoever. Now you're keeping up with every asshole that owns a cell phone.
Right.
And half of the shit they're putting on there is lies or
Yeah.
fabricated
Or AI.
or AI now. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. What gets me are those Amazons, the Amazon reels where they have, like, the perfect house, and they're like restock my order, and they pull out all of these like refrigerator bins and everything is just perfect. And, it's like my Amazon haul for this month. And, it's like, do I have to have that in my refrigerator? And before I would fall for that. I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool." Like, okay, I need better organization. Did I really? No, because shit goes in the refrigerator, it comes out within a day anyway. So, I mean, why do I need it to be organized?
I bought those bins. They're a fucking nightmare.
I
My
use them
refrigerator has
for
never been more unorganized than when I had those goddamn plastic bins in there.
Yeah, they're in my pantry in a stack.
Yeah, they're on the top shelf in my pantry too. Don't worry about it. We're in the same boat.
Yeah, because I'm like, I just want to reach in, grab something and go. But it really put a spotlight on what I felt was lacking in me and my life. And it made me feel like shit because I'm like, well, maybe I'm not a good, wife, mother. Like if I can't organize my refrigerator and if I have sucky organizational skills, and what does that say about me? It just puts the spotlight on people's lack and their self-worth and their identity. And that's what I don't like about it. I don't like that when I get done looking at social media, I feel worse.
But there's a reason that the majority of the people in marketing that are successful have psychology degrees.
Yeah.
There's a big reason behind that. That's
Mhm.
the whole goal. The whole goal of social media, specifically now with the social media marketing,
Mhm.
is to make you feel that either A, you can't live without something, or B, you're a piece of shit because you don't have it.
Yeah. Well, and
That's the two plays.
it's a dopamine hit too. Every time you scroll, every time you see something, it's an addiction because that dopamine is just firing. It's like, I try to get toward or gravitate towards, I'm addicted to like Reiki readings and tarot readings and like just comedians and things like that online, like, people do like the musical challenges and stuff like that. Like that's the stuff I try to watch. But here lately, I'm like, where the hell did my algorithm go? Because it's just all kinds of crap that I'm like, this isn't what I want to see. I
Well,
don't.
if you listen to Gary Vee, and I'm a huge, huge fan of his, I listen to
Gary
him.
Vaynerchuk.
He is my ride to or from work every day.
Oh, okay.
It's no longer your algorithm as much as it is your interest. It's transitioned from they're not only pushing what you want, they're pushing what's the most popular.
Yeah, I see that.
So it's changed. Like, I don't know. Do you ever go on threads?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
I don't know what I did. And I'm scared to go on there because there's no more normal life. And I don't talk politics when I'm on podcasts in any way, shape, or form. But all I see on my threads is either as far left or as far right as you can get.
Hmm.
There's no more normal people I see. I must have clicked something the wrong way and I'm scared to open the app.
Yeah.
But that's what one of the things about, and this is the only political statement I ever make, is whatever you want to believe, there's no more news anymore.
No, there isn't.
You can find someone to validate whatever the fuck you want to believe.
Yep.
You have a belief that the sky is polka dot. You can now search the internet and find somebody who will validate the fact that the sky is polka dot.
Yeah. And that's
And
so
it's
scary.
destroying our society as a whole.
Yeah.
That's the only political statement I make, and I leave it at that because I don't want to dive into that. I hate what politics has done to everybody and social media specifically.
Same.
My
Yeah.
favorite new thing on Facebook is the snooze for 30 days.
Huh.
I
Yeah.
post, I joke around and I'll post on Facebook on day 31. Holy shit, time to clear my feed again. Because you've got like those 20 people that I don't know if their family's still alive because all they do is post political shit. And I'm like, I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
I want to see the goofy picture or video of your 2-year-old falling down the stairs or cursing their first words or, flipping you the finger, whatever. And I don't mean falling down the stairs. You know what I mean? Falling down and, whatever. Something funny. God forbid they
Yeah.
fell down 4 flights of stairs, but I wanna see the funny shit. I wanna see the picture of my cousin's kids that I don't see every year. I
Yeah.
wanna see the kid that just scored his 1,000th point from my buddy that I went to college with. I don't wanna see all this other shit.
And I feel like that's what Facebook started out as. It started out as a place where people genuinely shared photos of their family and their daily life and things like that. And we have just gotten so far removed from that.
Well, they're showing us what they want us to see.
Yeah.
There's a great video on YouTube. I forget the guy's name, but he was a military expert on brainwashing and interrogation. And he dives into social media and he dives into the algorithm and what they're trying to do with it now. That it's akin to brainwashing and portions of interrogation that will make you say what they want you to say. And it's not go on your Facebook feed. I'll get a post from my cousin, and this is probably exactly what was on my Facebook feed. There's a picture of my cousin with his kids, excuse me. Then it was 5 people I don't even follow. Like, it actually had the button follow next to their name, which says, I don't give a shit about them, but they're showing them to me anyway. And then it was 4 sponsored advertisements for something I talked about in my sleep like 3 days ago. Because it was listening to me while I was snoring, and I happened to say, nachos, and I had fucking 8 Doritos advertisements there.
Yeah, I
But
hate
that's what
that.
it's all become.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a my God, what's the name of the show? There's a somebody on TikTok, Brooke and Jubal in the morning. It's a radio show, and they do like this second date update thing, and like the wacky Wednesday phone call or something. I listened to like one of them completely to the end, and I was like wet my pants funny kind of thing, so I had to listen to it. Every other swipe on TikTok is somebody copying the audio and putting it on their own movie, and I'm listening to the same shit over and over and over again. It's terrible. But yeah, back to what we were talking about before about the brainwashing side of it. It's insane. It's insane what they can get you to believe, what they can get you to think, and what they can get you to do.
It's cult like.
Yeah, to a point it is. To a point it is. I
Yeah.
mean, Google still exists, right? Like where you can go in and type in something and research a fact
Yeah.
before you post it on the internet.
Yeah.
It does. Because
Yeah.
fucking nobody knows how to use it anymore.
Nobody does that though. Nobody critically thinks. And this is what makes me crazy. No one just stops and says, could this be real or could this be false? Maybe I should check it out before I just randomly repost it and go on a tangent about it. No one critically thinks anymore.
Well, that old quote, if it's on the internet, you have to believe it. Abraham Lincoln said that. Do you know that, right? Abraham Lincoln said, if it's on the internet, you have to believe it.
Was it Lincoln? I thought it was
Somebody
Washington.
posted it in a meme that he said it. I mean, you got to believe it.
Yeah, I mean, then for sure, it's gotta be that because no other
It's
really
insanity.
president could have said that.
But it's control. It really is. It's complete mind control. Like I say to my son all the time, like my kids are very low maintenance. My son likes his sneakers and my daughter likes her makeup. Clothing wise, they don't. My daughter gets so much stuff from college for her lacrosse team, and my son is well, now I think he started to realize there's an opposite sex at like 14 years old because now he's in jeans and sweaters and like doing his hair and shit. It's not
Yeah.
just sweatshirts and baggy sweatpants. But there's a reason that, as I sit here with my Under Armour logo visible in the screenshot and my hat for my book, if anybody's looking, there's a reason the logos on the front of things are so big
Mhm.
because it's a societal status statement.
Yeah.
I mean, you wear eyeglasses, so do I. Do you
Oh,
realize that
these are blue blockers.
one company makes 98% of the frames in the world?
No, I did not know that.
It's a company called Luxottica.
Okay.
They make 98% of the eyeglass frames in the world. So that means that they make the budget rack, that little spinner that like, my union plan pays for every one of them for free and I don't have to pay any money.
Yep.
And they also make the ones on the right that say Gucci and Nautica and Nike and everything else. And they're the exact same frames
Mhm.
minus the logo. but our brain says that that's a better frame and I have to pay 7, 8, 12 times as much because it has that logo on it.
Yeah.
Go to Walmart. Do the research one day on Walmart and
Uh,
where they get their clothing from and what companies actually make the brands that Walmart sells.
yeah, Walmart has their own, like the companies make things specifically for Walmart. So if you ever go into Walmart and you see a W, like you see a name brand, but you see a W after it, after the number on the label, that's been specifically made for Walmart.
But you know the company George? George is like the men's dress clothing at Walmart, like the dress shirts and the pants and like the slacks. They have their own brand, George. It's made by Arrow, which is a men's clothing company that you pay 60, 70, $80 a shirt. Maybe the stitching's a little different, but it's the same thing. But we pay for that name. And
Yeah,
on a dress shirt, I'm sorry, I've never put on a suit and had Arrow or across the front of my shirt. You're the only one that knows what the tag says.
yeah,
But we feel like we're less of a person for not having a name brand this or a name brand that.
right.
And that's the brainwash.
Yeah, yeah, that's the societal expectation. That's,
Completely
yeah,
fed by social media.
yep, yeah,
And, once you realize that your self-worth is more than what you own and what you have, it doesn't have that much of an impact on you. But one of the problems is we never blame the right person for those problems. No one forces you to buy shit you can't afford in order to impress people you don't like. You make that decision.
hmm,
You're a product of every action you take and every decision you make. And when it comes down to it, no one spent my money to buy that shit. No one thought that that was going to make me a better person except for me.
yeah,
And that was the hardest part about digging out of my hole was the fact that I had to own my shit and I really had to have the conversations with me. And those conversations suck.
they do.
You
Yeah,
know, I had to tell myself, Rob, you're an asshole. You're spending money and hurting your family to get shit you don't need.
yeah.
You're
But a
making
lot of
this,
people do it.
but a lot of people think they have to.
Yeah, yeah. There's this invisible driving force.
It is, when you look down to it, it is not invisible at all.
I know I'm saying they think it's invisible driving force, it's just making them make these decisions. It's like, no, it's you. It's your brain.
Yeah. And
As nice and
the hardest conversation you ever have with somebody is the one you have with yourself when you actually have to own it. Because if you don't admit it's broke, you're never going to make the fix.
right. And people don't wanna have those conversations with themselves.
They
They don't
suck.
want to look at themselves like that. They don't want to be the culprit. They wanna be the hero, and they wanna put it on someone else, and it's like, "No, you're like you said, you're responsible for you."
You mentioned it to me earlier when we first started. You asked if there was any child trauma, right? If there was anything in my childhood that kind of led me up to my bad spending and this, that, and the other thing. The only person that can break that cycle is me.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I have to own that. Thank God there wasn't for me, but for certain people there was. And I'm not downplaying anybody. The trauma you went through built you, right?
Mhm.
The trauma that you went through may have developed certain strengths that other people don't have.
Yeah.
But as Jelly Roll says in one of his songs, there's a reason that the rear view mirror is a hell of a lot smaller than the windshield. There's no problem holding on to that as something you've been through. But when we turn it into who we are, and I'm not making a blanket statement, I'm sure some people have been through some shit. But when
Yeah.
we take the little things and we turn it into who we are as we grow forward, and we don't understand that the only way to break that cycle is to own our shit and correct it ourselves, we're kind of almost using certain things as a crutch for our bad behavior.
Yes. 100%. It becomes an identity, and can't lose my identity because then what? Then who am I?
Right. Well, you know what? You have to figure out who the hell you are because
Yeah.
you're not that person. You're not that person that got, I'll use very, very subtle examples. I got bullied as a kid. most of
Okay.
my life because I was 6'2" and 120 pounds. If the wind blew the wrong direction, I had to hold on to something. And that dynamic didn't change until I was 13 or 14 years old. And I put on a few pounds and somebody said something and I punched him in the mouth.
Mm,
Not advocating violence, but I made the step that made the change.
yeah.
I could have been financially screwed my entire life from childhood to 45 right now. And I could have continued on that path if in my late 30s I didn't say, "Oh shit, we got to figure something out to fix this and make the changes." I could have lived by other people's opinions until I realized that they don't pay my bills. They don't live my life. And I actually developed the mindset that I got 5 people that I live and die for their opinion. My
Mm,
parents live downstairs in my house in an apartment. My wife and my 2 kids. When you get down to bare bones, those are the only 5 people I care about their opinion 110%. My friends are gonna have their opinions. I take them with a grain of salt. I listen to them. I analyze them. I see whether or not it works, but they don't rule my world with their opinion. Everybody beyond them, fuck off. There really isn't any way to say it,
right.
especially on social media.
Yeah.
I mean, comments and posts and I mean, you just watch people. They almost make their day better by bitching about everything they can possibly find
Mhm. Yeah.
and insulting people that they're probably 7 to 10 steps below.
Yeah.
You know, people want to break my balls for writing a book that was only 80 pages. You didn't fucking write 5.
Yeah. Yeah. You're living a life they don't have the courage for, so therefore they have to knock it.
That's not going to work translates to I'm chicken shit and I'm not going to try it. Who does he think he is for doing that? Or who does she think she is? Whatever translates into I wouldn't have the balls to do that. And that wouldn't work for me. Everybody's opinion is almost a mirror of what they think about themselves in a
Mhm.
lot of instances.
Yeah. Yeah. I know on my posts, I've gotten a lot of hate, mostly from men, because I coach women and I coach women's empowerment and confidence. And oh, yeah, I've been the subject of some pretty nasty, horrible comments. And I'm like, number one, thanks for helping my algorithm and getting my posting. And two, what happened to you that you are such a keyboard warrior that you feel like you have to go on some stranger's post and post shit that you wouldn't dare say to me to my face, and you're proud of yourself for that? That
I was
works for you?
I was watching a post the other day that somebody put up. There's actually 2 of them. There's a woman who does whatever she does, fitness, nutrition, and she dropped a ton of weight. And she's not where she wants to be, but there's an obvious transition.
Mhm.
And throughout her first year, she actually went to people's profiles and screenshotted their profile picture and put their profile picture up with their comment. And they're making some fucking disgusting comments to this woman. And she pulls up the picture and it's like a 450-pound guy, sitting with a bag of Doritos on his chest. Or it's a guy that you can tell has never been on a date in his entire life. And their lives are so miserable that their existences are sitting on social media and commenting on people that are actually doing shit.
Yeah, their
Do you
life
ever
is
did you ever see
miserable,
the
so
newscaster? There's a woman who I think she's in like Missouri somewhere, and beautiful, beautiful blonde girl on the thicker side of her physique, and she actually reads the Twitters or the comments, the Twitters, yeah, good that away, the tweets or the X's, whatever the hell they're called now,
yeah.
and she puts them up on screen in her newsroom and reads them in her newscasting voice. And she's absolutely hilarious.
Wow. That takes some balls to do, so good for her.
But it's she's so confident in herself and the way it comes across is absolutely hilarious. It really is.
Yeah.
I wanna say it's like Christy Coder or something like that. Both of them start with a C.
Hmm.
But you look
Okay.
at the people that do this, like, I would never think of going on somebody's social media page and making a personal derogatory comment.
No.
I'll say, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, but making a personal derogatory comment about something is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
But that's how people get their rocks off because they have
I
nothing
know.
else.
Well, and it's become so comfortable and so accepted.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean,
what have we turned into that
they
this is
didn't grow
acceptable?
up they didn't grow up in our generation where if you opened your mouth, somebody was gonna shut it for you,
Uh, yeah.
you know?
These people have had absolutely 0 consequences of their actions, and it shows.
No, none.
None of them have been chased around the house with a belt. Like, let me tell you that.
None of them have mouthed off to somebody in a bar and caught a punch in the face
No,
for
no.
what they've said. They have no repercussions, and you can see it, and it's this generation. It's I mean, it's the generations after us.
Yeah. I feel like elder millennials get it, but, you start to get into, like, the younger generations, and it's like, "Man, you guys don't know. You just don't get it."
No, no, they don't. There's
No.
no repercussions. There's no consequences for actions across the board anymore. And you get these keyboard warriors that want to have arguments. Like one of the kids I went to high school with, I actually had to unfriend him on Facebook.
Mm,
He's there and he's cursing out my friend's 70-year-old mother on Facebook. It was on a political post, which is why I hate discussing politics because there's politics and religion are the two things that will break up families and end friendship.
yep.
But he's sitting there and he's cursing out a 70-year-old woman on Facebook. And I've known him since we were, whatever, 13 years old. I was like, I know her son. I can guarantee you, knowing you, you would never have the balls to say that to her if you were face to face with her because you'd look at the son and you'd get scared.
Mhm.
But the second you put behind a keyboard and a computer monitor, you think that it's not going to make a difference. Shit, there are people that will make those comments to people they know.
Mhm.
And then the next time they see each other face to face, expect them to be like, oh, sorry, that's just your online persona. You're good now. We're friends. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's fucking insane. But that's social media and how it just you feel like you're somebody else when you're on the keyboard and it doesn't have repercussions in real life.
Do you think the people who do that though, I mean, it's my opinion, but I mean, do you think the people who do that, that's their truth? Like that's truly who they are? If they're the ones leaving those nasty comments and being nasty on the internet. I mean, for
No,
me, that tells me all I need to know about their character when they're by themselves and that's who they truly are.
I don't believe it in a lot of instances because I think it's who they want to be. I think it's their online character. I really do. I
Yeah.
don't think it's the person they are. And I'm going to say it this way, and I'm going to say it about guys more than anything. A lot of the men that you see on social media, I don't think that the persona, when they make these comments, especially when they make deprecating comments about women and things like that on the internet, I don't think that's who they really are because I think they're performing. When a guy who I'll just say it how I'm going to say it. When a guy who looks like he's never gotten laid in his entire life
Mhm.
says something about a woman who's probably an 8 to a 10 on a scale of 10, maybe a 12, and makes a comment like, "Oh, I definitely couldn't date her. Her second hair in the middle of her head is out of line." And meanwhile, this guy has never even spoken to a woman outside of a 1-900 number he probably called at 12 years old.
Yeah.
He's pretending to be somebody that he's not. He's pretending to be that guy that A, would have a chance, and B, would turn her down because it feeds his ego that he doesn't. And I think the people that make the comments that are insulting to anybody are chicken shit when it comes to real life because they make the comments there full knowing that they would never have the balls to make those comments personal.
Yeah. No, I mean, they make those comments in person to me, and, well,
In person,
they're gonna get the girl who's raised from the projects. Like, that's
I will take a happily take an assault charge for some of the shit that I've seen posted on here.
same. Yeah, if one of these assholes ever said what they've posted to me in real life, that girl from the projects is gonna come up. It ain't gonna be pretty.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's the
It
thing, is they never
yeah,
would.
right, and that's what sucks about this whole thing is that now everyone is subjected to this, false sense of self.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people say to me in when I used to listen, I used to think that putting my political opinion on Facebook made a difference. Maybe I was gonna change somebody's mind, whatever.
No.
It's like polishing deck chairs on the Titanic. You know it's
Right.
sinking anyway, just let it go.
Yeah.
But I've had people, like, threaten a physical altercation with
Well.
no problem, dude. You're 5'3" and 125 pounds.
Mhm.
Please, feel free. No issues. I'll give you the address on where to go.
Yeah, and I'll be on time.
But that's a person playing a persona that they wanna be. They get
Yeah,
that opportunity, and it's all behind keyboard.
yeah. No, I take your point. Yeah. I don't know, it could be a mix too of
I mean, yes, granted, you have people that are just plain assholes,
yeah.
and they're an
No.
asshole in real life, they're an asshole behind a keyboard. It's just gonna be who they are.
Yeah, that's true.
But that's where you take the opinion that their opinion doesn't mean anything. And I think we've all done it at some point in time. We've all posted something on the internet at 9 o'clock in the morning and then went back at 10 to see if anybody liked it. Went back to see the comments.
Mhm.
And I know people that have gotten pissed that I haven't liked or commented their post. I saw it, I smiled, I went to the next one. Sorry.
Yeah.
But we live for that validation
Yes.
when that validation does nothing for
So
us as a
how do
person.
we get out of it? Final thought, how do we get out of this need for so much external validation?
Everything stems from the second line in the title of my book, Own Your Shit. And that covers the gauntlet. You have to own everything about you. You have to own the mistakes you made. You need to take the path to fix them. You need to own the fact that you wind up living by somebody else's script, and that's not the person you want to be. So you've got to make the changes to make that happen. You've got to own the fact that you may not respect yourself as much as you do or as much as you put forward. And you've got to rewrite and take the steps to change that. That's the biggest one, and that's the toughest one. I can fix my finances. I can fix a relationship with somebody else. I can fix my fitness. I can fix my diet. I can go on the internet and Google how to do that. When it comes to having a lack of self-respect for yourself, that's possibly the most difficult thing I changed in my life. I would never be having this conversation with a stranger right now because I was so guarded on so many things. And that was the part that was killing me. Everything that fell out of line with me fell back in line once I realized I like who I am.
Mm.
And that was the big pivot out of everything. Yeah, I made the steps. I started going to the gym. I looked at my finances. I changed some things and they slowly started to work. But once I looked in the mirror and I said, holy shit, dude, you're actually a pretty cool guy. And that was after, the 2 o'clock in the morning wake ups, wondering about this, that, and the other thing. The, you know, wondering whether or not I'm a good enough father to my kids because they didn't get a good grade on their test and blaming that on me. And everything that went wrong was my fault. Once I gained self-respect for myself, everything else fell in line. And I realized that other people's opinions just don't matter.
Yeah.
And it's so freeing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on. I mean, I could keep talking to you about this because I mean, this is just something there's so many layers. It's so multifaceted, and
It's deep on a lot of levels.
yeah,
It really is.
yeah. I appreciate you coming on. Where can we find your book and your podcast?
All right. The book is Make It Easy for Everybody. I have a Stan store. So if you go to stan.store/FTS, fuck the script 25, that has links to the books. It's got some stuff in there that I put together it's a kind of a workbook that I used. I didn't use the exact workbook, but it's what I kind of went through every day to kind of build that respect level for myself. And then the podcast is on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. It's called Fuck the Standard. There are a few solo episodes out, like 15, 20-minute episodes. There are 2 more coming out. And then January 1st, I release my first guest episode and roll from there. I have some really good guests coming on. So I
Nice.
hope everybody gives it a listen. And I would love to have you on as a guest because we could definitely expand this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to be a guest. Yeah, let me know when,
All right.
and I'll be there. All right. Well, I will put all of those links down in the show notes for those of you who want to link up with Rob. And if you're listening, thanks for hanging out with us on Fine, I'll Talk About It. If today's episode got you thinking, hit follow or subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you want more real talk, more perspective shifts, and more finally someone said it moments, leave a quick review. It helps other people find the show. You can connect with me on Instagram at Inspired Action Wellness or my website, inspiredactionwellness.com, for more inspiration like this. Bye, y'all. We will see you in the next episode.